The morning sun cast long shadows across the crystal gardens of. Elder N stood on the balcony of the council tower, watching his people tend to the glowing plants that fed their city. They had always been peaceful. Their long, graceful necks allowed them to reach the highest fruits, while their gentle hands could coax life from even the most stubborn soil. For 300 years, they had shared their knowledge with the galaxy through the cooperative. Now their world was ending. Smoke rose from the eastern districts where bombs had fallen during the night. The insect-like invaders had taken everything else. 7 cities had fallen in the past month, only remained free and barely so. Elder, came a soft voice behind him. En turned to see Ra, his aide, her usually bright blue fur now dull with worry. "The council is ready for your address." En nodded and followed her inside. The council chamber had once held representatives from dozens of cities. Now only 12 remained, their seats seeming impossibly small in the vast room. "What news from the outer sectors?" En asked as he took his place at the center. Counselor, the oldest among them, spoke with a trembling voice. "They have landed 3 more ships near the southern farms. Our people there have fled to the inner walls." "And the cooperative's response to our latest plea?" Silence filled the chamber. Finally, answered. "The Republic sends their thoughts and prayers. The Cetacean Alliance offers to accept refugees on their water worlds. They suggest we negotiate for better surrender terms." En's hands clenched. The same empty words they had heard for weeks. The galaxy's great powers would not risk war with the Empire to save one small world of farmers and gardeners. "What of our military?" asked another counselor. "Gone," replied. "General's last message came 3 days ago. His ships were destroyed trying to stop the fleet. He transmitted his final words. We were gardeners pretending to be warriors. Forgive us." The council chamber fell silent except for the distant rumble of explosions. Through the tall windows, they could see aircraft circling like metal vultures. En had lived for over 200 years. He had seen them join the galactic community with hope and wonder. They had believed that civilization meant protection, that their contributions to peace and prosperity would matter when darkness came for them. They had been wrong. "How long do we have?" En asked. Ra consulted her data pad. "Our defense grid can hold for perhaps 2 more days. After that," she did not need to finish. The elder looked at each council member in turn. These were not warriors. They were teachers, farmers, artists, and healers. They had never learned to fight because they had never needed to. The cooperative had promised to protect them. "What do they want from us?" asked young counselor. His ears drooped. "Labor. They will keep the strong ones to work their mines and farms on other worlds. The old, the sick, the children." He could not continue. En rose from his seat and walked to the great window. Below, he could see families hurrying through the streets, carrying what little they could save. Parents held their children close. The elderly helped each other walk. They all looked up at the council tower, hoping their leaders had found some miracle, some salvation. "We must tell them," En said softly. "They deserve to know." "Tell them what?" asked. "That we failed them, that all our faith in civilization was misplaced." "Tell them the truth," En replied. "That we stand alone, that no one will come for us, but also that we will not surrender without dignity." He turned back to the council. "Prepare the broadcast equipment. I will speak to our people one final time." As they filed out to make preparations, En remained at the window. The crystal gardens below caught the sunlight and threw rainbow patterns across the white stone buildings. His people had built something beautiful here, something worth saving. But beauty, it seemed, was not enough. An hour later, En stood before the broadcast terminal. Every screen in would carry his words. His people needed to hear them before the end came. "My fellow," he began, his voice steady despite the weight in his heart. "For 300 years, we have been part of something greater than ourselves. We joined the stars believing that kindness would be repaid with kindness, that those who defend peace would themselves be defended. He paused, gathering strength for what came next. We were wrong. The great civilizations of the galaxy have abandoned us to our fate. They offer sympathy but not soldiers, refugees camps but not rescue. We have learned that in this universe, only the strong protect the weak, and only when it serves their interests. Through the window, he could see crowds gathering in the streets below, all faces turned upward toward the broadcast. But we are still. We tend life where others bring death. We build where others destroy. And if we must face the darkness, we will face it with our heads held high. Tell your children of the gardens we grew. Tell them we tried to bring light to the galaxy. The transmission ended. N slumped in his chair, exhausted. Outside, the sound of aircraft grew louder. The final attack was beginning. Ra entered the room quietly. Elder, perhaps you should rest. N shook his head. I will watch from the tower. If these are our final hours, I will witness them. Someone should remember. As night fell over, explosions lit the horizon. The forces were moving into position for tomorrow's assault. By sunset the next day, there would be no more free in the galaxy. N climbed slowly to the highest balcony of the council tower. Above, the stars shone coldly down on their dying world. Somewhere out there, the great civilizations continued their comfortable lives, having already forgotten about the small world they had failed to save. The elder closed his eyes and whispered a prayer to the ancient spirits of his people. If there was justice in the universe, if there was hope beyond the darkness, let it come now. But the stars remained silent, and morning was coming. Admiral Sarah stared at the holographic display floating above her command table. The blue and red dots showed ship movements across 3 star systems, but her attention focused on one small green world. 442b, home of the... The bridge of the UES Defiant hummed quietly around her. Earth's most advanced warship hung in space at the edge of the Sol system, officially on patrol duty. Unofficially, and her crew had been watching the galaxy tear itself apart. Show me the transmission again, she ordered. Her communications officer, Lieutenant Park, nodded and activated the recording. Elder N's face appeared above the table, his long neck bent with sorrow, his gentle eyes filled with pain. The words were translated by Earth's computers, but the emotion needed no translation. We stand alone, no one will come for us. Had watched this message 17 times in the past 6 hours. Each time, it made her angrier. Admiral, said her executive officer, Commander Torres, the Joint Chiefs are waiting for your report. Nodded and opened the quantum communication link to Earth. 5 faces appeared on her screen, the highest military leaders of humanity. Admiral Brooks, chairman of the Joint Chiefs, spoke first. Admiral, what's your assessment of the situation? They have maybe 18 hours before total collapse, replied. They are positioning for a final assault on their last city. After that, it's over. General Martinez leaned forward, and the cooperative's response. The same as always, said, unable to keep the disgust from her voice. Lots of talk, no action. They're treating this like a local business dispute instead of genocide. For 50 years, humanity had watched the galaxy from the outside. First contact had come when Earth was still recovering from the resource wars. The aliens had taken one look at human history and declared them too primitive for membership in the Galactic Cooperative. Humanity was quarantined to their home system, allowed only limited trade and cultural exchange. The aliens said humans were too violent, too aggressive, too quick to fight. They claimed this made humanity dangerous to civilized society. What's our intelligence on capabilities? Asked Admiral. Commander Torres answered. Standard cooperative military doctrine. Large ships, energy weapons, formation fighting. They overwhelm enemies with numbers and firepower, but they're inflexible. Their tactics haven't changed in 200 years. Added, they're used to fighting other cooperative species. Defensive-minded, predictable battle plans, limited small unit tactics. Nothing like what we would do. The room fell silent as the implications sank in. Humanity's military had been shaped by thousands of years of warfare. While other species had found peace under the cooperative's protection, humans had never stopped preparing for the next fight. "The political situation?" asked Admiral Brooks. "Complete clusterfuck," said bluntly. "Sorry, sir. The cooperative members are more worried about trade routes than genocide. They don't want to risk their mining interests. The cetaceans are too pacifist to fight anyone. They are offering to mediate, but mediation doesn't stop bombs." General Martinez nodded grimly. "And if we intervene?" "Officially, we'll be violating about 30 interstellar laws," Torres said. "The cooperative will call it an act of war by a primitive species. We'll be blacklisted from galactic society." "Unofficially?" Brooks asked. Smiled coldly. "Unofficially, we'll show the galaxy what happens when you abandon innocent people to die." The silence stretched longer this time. Finally, Admiral Brooks spoke. "Be honest with me, can we win?" "Sir, they are using 20th century tactics with 25th century weapons," replied. "They've never faced combined arms doctrine, orbital insertion, or asymmetric warfare. Yes, sir, we can win." "Casualties?" "Some," admitted. "But the 1st Orbital Assault Division is ready. They've been training for this kind of mission for 3 years." General Martinez looked troubled. "They don't even know we exist. Why should we risk human lives for aliens who never done anything for us?" His hands clenched. She thought of the first delegation she had ever seen, back when she was a young lieutenant. The aliens had been curious about human agriculture, eager to learn about Earth's farming techniques. They had treated humans as equals, not primitives. "Because it's the right thing to do," she said simply. Admiral shook his head. "That's not good enough. We need strategic reasons." "Then here's your strategic reason," replied, her voice hard. "The galaxy is watching. They've written us off as violent primitives who can't be trusted. If we prove we'll fight for justice, even for strangers, maybe they'll start taking us seriously." "And if we lose?" asked Martinez. "Then at least the universe will know that someone fought for the answered." The debate continued for another hour, but could see the decision forming in their faces. Humanity had been pushed around by the galaxy for too long. Here was a chance to prove they belonged among the stars, not as supplicants begging for acceptance, but as equals. "Very well," Admiral Brooks said finally. "Operation Righteous Drop is authorized. You have 48 hours to save a world." "Understood, sir," replied. "We won't let you down." The connection ended, leaving alone with her bridge crew. She looked around at the faces surrounding her. These were good people, trained soldiers who had never seen real combat. In a few hours, they would be fighting aliens on a world none of them had ever seen, for people they had never met. "Commander Torres, signal the fleet," she ordered. "All ships prepare for FTL jump. Destination 442B. "Aye, aye, Admiral," Torres replied. "Estimated arrival." "Check the navigation display. 14 hours. Contact Colonel and tell him to prep his Marines for immediate combat drop." As the Defiant and her sister ships powered up their jump drives, walked to the forward viewport. Somewhere beyond the stars, a peaceful people faced their darkest hour. They believed themselves abandoned by the universe. They were about to learn they were wrong. The stars stretched into lines as humanity's fleet disappeared into hyperspace, carrying hope to a dying world. Behind them, Earth spun silently in space, unaware that its children were about to announce their presence to the galaxy in the most human way possible. By arriving uninvited to a fight, picking the side of the underdog, and hitting the bullies as hard as they could. The galaxy was about to meet humanity, not as they expected, but as they truly were. The dawn sky overglowed red from the fires burning in the outer districts. Elder N had not slept. He stood on his balcony, watching aircraft circle like predators preparing to feed. Their ships cast shadows across his city as they moved into final attack positions. Below in the streets, the last defenders took their positions. They were farmers and teachers carrying hunting rifles and mining tools. They would not last an hour against professional soldiers. Elder Ra appeared beside him. The commander is broadcasting surrender terms. N did not turn away from the window. What do they offer? The same as always. Those who surrender will be processed for labor assignments. Those who resist will be eliminated as examples. The elder's ears drooped, processed, as if his people were crops to be harvested. Tell them we need time to consider, he said. It was a lie. There was nothing to consider, but perhaps he could give his people a few more hours of freedom. Across the city, the ground forces began their advance. Their soldiers moved in perfect formation, their insect-like bodies covered in black armor. They had 4 arms each, allowing them to carry heavy weapons while maintaining shield generators. Behind them rolled massive war machines, their weapons scanning for targets. N closed his eyes and waited for the end. A new sound filled the air, not the drone of engines but something different, higher pitched, more urgent. Elder Ra pointed upward. Look. High above the city, new shapes appeared in the sky. Ships unlike anything in the fleet. Sleek, angular, moving with predatory grace. Their hulls bore no markings that N recognized. Suddenly, every communication device in the city crackled to life. A voice spoke in heavily accented Galactic Standard. This is Admiral Sarah of the United Earth Fleet. We are here to assist in the defense of this world. All civilians take cover immediately. Danger close fire missions incoming. Earth N had heard that name somewhere. A restricted world, home to a primitive species the cooperative had quarantined decades ago. But these ships looked far from primitive. The forces below stopped their advance, weapons turning skyward toward the unknown vessels. Their commanders screamed orders as they tried to identify the new threat. Then the sky began to rain metal. Thousands of small objects separated from the human ships, falling toward the planet's surface like silver tears. As they fell, they began to glow from atmospheric entry, creating streaks of light across the morning sky. What are they? Ra whispered. The first impacts came behind lines. Each object hit the ground with tremendous force, sending up clouds of dust and debris. For a moment, everything was silent. Then the objects began to open. Sergeant felt the bone-jarring impact as his drop pod slammed into the alien soil. The automated systems ran their checks in seconds. Atmosphere breathable, gravity within acceptable range, no immediate threats detected. The pod's sides explosive away, revealing the forces just 50 meters away. Alpha Squad sound off, he commanded through his helmet radio. Operational. Jackson ready to rock. Martinez locked and loaded. Good to go. Smiled inside his helmet. The 1st Orbital Assault Division had trained for this moment for 3 years. Time to show the galaxy what human Marines could do. They had stopped their advance, staring in confusion at the smoking craters that had appeared throughout their formation. Their rigid military doctrine had no protocol for this. Enemies were supposed to meet them in formation, not fall from the sky. Target-rich environment observed. Alpha Squad advanced by fire and movement, weapons hot. The first patrol turned just in time to see 4 humans emerge from the crater behind them. The aliens raised their energy weapons, but human rail rifles fired faster. The magnetic accelerators launched tungsten rounds at hypersonic speed, punching through armor like paper. The patrol died without firing a shot. Contact, contact. Heard similar reports flooding the communication network as hundreds of human Marines engaged across the battlefield. The drop had scattered them throughout the enemy formation, turning the advance into chaos. Across the city, Captain led Bravo Company in a coordinated assault on artillery positions. The aliens had positioned their heavy weapons to bombard, but they had not expected to be attacked from behind. "Suppressive fire on the gun crews," she ordered. "Martinez, get a rocket on that command vehicle." Human weapons cracked like thunder. They tried to turn their heavy guns around, but human infantry moved too fast, appearing from unexpected directions, hitting hard and disappearing before return fire could find them. From his balcony, N watched in amazement as the battle transformed before his eyes. Minutes ago, his people faced certain destruction. Now the advance had stopped completely as their formations dissolved under attack from an unknown enemy. The human ships above began orbital bombardment, but unlike the crude attacks they had used, these strikes were precise. Beams of energy lanced down from orbit, destroying specific targets while leaving surrounding areas untouched. "Who are these humans?" he whispered. Down in the streets, squad worked their way toward a command post. The aliens fought back desperately, but their tactics were all wrong. They tried to form defensive lines against an enemy that refused to attack frontally. "Jackson, flank left," ordered. "Martinez, prepare smoke and advance up the middle." The humans moved like a pack of predators, each marine covering the others, advancing through terrain they thought impossible to cross. When the aliens concentrated fire on one position, the humans were already moving to another. An officer emerged from the command post, his four arms waving frantically as he tried to coordinate a response. Put him in his sights and squeezed the trigger. The rail rifle round took the alien center mass, dropping him instantly. "Command post secured," reported. "Area clear, no friendly casualties." Similar reports flooded in from across the battlefield. Human casualties were minimal. Losses were catastrophic. In orbit above the planet, Admiral watched the tactical display with satisfaction. Her Marines were performing exactly as trained. They had never faced an enemy like this. "Signal from the surface," her communications officer reported. "The leader wants to speak with you." Nodded, put him through. Elder N's face appeared on her screen, his expression mixing amazement with desperate hope. "Admiral," he said carefully, we are grateful for your intervention, but why? Why would your people risk themselves for strangers?" Studied the alien leader's face. She saw dignity there and courage in the face of overwhelming odds. These were people worth saving. "Because someone should," she replied simply. "Because leaving innocent people to die is wrong, regardless of what species they belong to." Below them, the tide of battle continued to turn. The Empire had expected to crush a defenseless world. Instead, they found themselves fighting an enemy that struck like lightning and moved like smoke. The humans had come to 442b. The galaxy would never be the same. Captain crouched behind the ruins of a transport, studying the tactical display on her wrist computer. 8 hours since the drop, and the human Marines had turned the battlefield into their personal hunting ground. The rigid formation fighting was useless against enemies who appeared from everywhere at once. "Contact bearing 270, her sergeant reported. "Looks like survivors trying to regroup near the water processing plant." Nodded and activated her radio. "Overwatch, this is Ground Team 7. We have targets at grid reference 447. Request orbital strike on marked position." High above, the UES Defiant responded instantly. "Ground Team 7, this is Overwatch. Danger close confirmed. Strike inbound 20 seconds. The beam of energy that fell from orbit was precise as a surgeon's blade. The abandoned building where forces were gathering simply disappeared, leaving only a smoking crater. Had seen cooperative orbital bombardment before through intelligence reports. They leveled entire city blocks to destroy single targets. Humans had learned to kill with precision. "Move out," she ordered her squad. "We've got civilians trapped in the residential sector." As her Marines advanced through the ruined streets, spotted movement ahead. A small group of emerged from a collapsed building, helping their wounded. They saw the approaching humans and froze in terror. Slowly removed her helmet, revealing her human features. She held up both hands, palms open, in what she hoped was a universal peace gesture. "Friends," she said in broken galactic standard, "we help, we fight." The eldest, his blue fur singed from explosions, stared at her in amazement. You are the warriors from the sky." "United Earth Marine Corps," confirmed. "We're here to help." The ears perked up with hope. "Our people are trapped in the medical center, surrounded, many wounded inside." Studied her tactical display. The medical center was 3 blocks away, heavily defended by forces. A direct assault would be costly. "Can you show us the building layout?" she asked. The nodded eagerly and began drawing in the dirt with his finger. As he sketched the medical center's floor plan, felt a familiar excitement. This was what humans did best: improvise, adapt, overcome. "This is," she radioed. "I need 2 squads for a rescue operation. Creative thinking required." "On our way," came the sergeant's response. "Hope you have a good plan." Always grinned. 20 minutes later, Sergeant led his squad through the storm drains beneath the medical center, whilst team created a distraction above ground. The still struggling to adapt to human tactics focused all their attention on the obvious threat. "In position," whispered into his radio as his Marines reached the basement level. "Execute," ordered. Squad emerged into the medical center like ghosts. The guards were all facing outward, watching for attacks from the street. They never saw the humans until it was too late. The firefight was brief and brutal. Human weapons and tactics proved superior once again. Within minutes, the medical center was secure. "Building clear," reported. "We've got about 40 civilians here, including wounded." As human medics worked to stabilize the injured, Elder N himself arrived at the medical center. He had insisted on leaving the safety of his tower to see these strange warriors for himself. He found Captain coordinating the evacuation with remarkable efficiency. Human soldiers moved with purpose, each knowing exactly what to do without constant orders. It was unlike anything he had seen from cooperative military forces. "Captain," he said in careful galactic standard, "I am Elder N, leader of the people." Straightened and offered a respectful nod. "Honor to meet you, Elder, Captain 1st Battalion." "Your soldiers fight unlike anyone we have ever seen," N observed. "Even in our histories, we have no record of such warfare." "Humans have been fighting for thousands of years," explained. "We've had lots of practice." And watched as a human medic treated a wounded child with gentle hands. "Yet you risk your lives for strangers. Why?" Paused in her coordination work. The question had a weight to it that went beyond simple curiosity. "Because someone has to stand up to bullies," she said finally. "Because leaving innocent people to suffer is wrong. My species learned that lesson the hard way." A new voice interrupted them. "Captain, we've got a problem." Emerged from the communications center, his face grim. "Battle group inbound. 3 heavy cruisers and a dozen escorts. They're not happy about losing ground forces." Cursed under her breath. The human fleet was powerful but outnumbered 3-1. Time to arrival: 4 hours. Above them in orbit, Admiral received the same report from her intelligence officer. The reinforcements would arrive with overwhelming firepower. Her small fleet had accomplished the impossible by saving, but holding the system against a full battle group was another matter entirely. "Admiral," her tactical officer said, "I'm reading massive energy buildup from the forces. They're preparing some kind of." Display showed the readings. Deep in the mountains east of the city, engineers were powering up what looked like a planetary bombardment cannon. One shot from that weapon would level completely. "Distance to target?" she asked. 40 kilometers, heavily fortified position. Studied the tactical situation. Her orbital strikes couldn't penetrate the mountain fortress, and her Marines were spread across the city protecting civilians. A conventional assault would take days they didn't have. "Get me Colonel Martinez," she ordered. The colonel's face appeared on her screen from his position with the main force. "Admiral, I know what you're thinking. It's impossible. That installation is built into solid rock." "Nothing's impossible," Colonel replied. "Just expensive. What do you need?" Martinez grinned fiercely. "Everything you've got, ma'am, and a little luck." 2 hours later, human launched from orbit carrying the most dangerous cargo in their arsenal, fusion demolition charges. The plan was insane, which made it perfectly human. Colonel Martinez led the assault team directly into the mountain fortress, while human ships above provided covering fire. They had never faced an enemy willing to fly directly into their strongest defenses. "Target the power conduits," Martinez ordered as his Marines fought through narrow corridors carved from living rock. "We don't need to destroy the weapon, just disable it." The battle raged through the mountain complex as human soldiers proved that determination could overcome superior numbers. When conventional tactics failed, they improvised. When improvisation failed, they got creative. The fusion charges detonated exactly as planned, sending tremors through the entire mountain range. The went dark forever. "Mountain fortress neutralized," Martinez reported to Admiral. "Weapon offline permanently." From his tower, Elder N watched the distant mountain flash with explosions. These humans had accomplished in hours what cooperative military doctrine said was impossible. They had stormed an impregnable fortress and won. "Who are these people?" he whispered to himself. In orbit, Admiral prepared for the final phase of the battle. The reinforcements were still coming, still outnumbering her fleet, but something had changed in the past day. The galaxy was watching, and for the first time in 50 years, humanity had their full attention. The reinforcement fleet dropped out of hyperspace, expecting to find their ground forces victorious and a conquered world below. Instead, they found smoking wreckage and a human fleet waiting for them. Admiral stood on the bridge of the Defiant, studying the tactical display. 3 heavy cruisers and 12 escort ships faced her 5 vessels. By traditional thinking, the humans were and outnumbered. Had never been traditional. "Signal the flagship," she ordered. "Open channel." The insect-like face of Admiral appeared on her screen, mandibles clicking in rage. Behind him, the command bridge of his ship bustled with activity as his officers prepared for battle. "Unknown vessels," hissed. "You will withdraw immediately or be destroyed. This system is under authority." Smiled coldly. "Actually, Admiral, this system is under my protection now. You have one chance to withdraw peacefully. Take it." His compound eyes glittered with fury. "Impossible. Our ground forces number in the thousands. We will crush your primitive ships and reclaim what is ours." "Check again," suggested. For the first time, doubt crept into the commander's voice. His officers were reporting impossible readings from the planet below. Their ground forces weren't responding to communications. Their mountain fortress was dark. "What have you done?" demanded. "We fought," replied simply. "Your move, Admiral." The space battle that followed lasted only 18 minutes. Human ships moved like dancers, never where they expected them to be. Their weapons struck with precision while return fire hit empty space. The humans had learned their lessons from studying every conflict the galaxy had recorded. They knew how cooperative species fought. Formations, predictable tactics, overwhelming firepower applied without subtlety. Humanity fought differently. Human ships separated into hunting pairs, using the planet's gravity well and asteroid field to mask their movements. They struck at weak points, targeted critical systems, and vanished before retaliation could find them. When the Vengeance exploded, taking Admiral with it, the remaining alien ships fled into hyperspace without formal surrender. The system belonged to humanity now. Elder N stood in the ruins of Main Square, watching human engineers work alongside civilians to clear debris and begin reconstruction. The humans moved with the same efficiency they had shown in battle, but now their purpose was creation rather than destruction. A human soldier approached him, removing her helmet to reveal short dark hair and tired brown eyes. It was Captain. "Elder," she said with a respectful nod, "Admiral would like to speak with you if you're available." N followed her to the human command post, a collection of prefabricated buildings that had been assembled with remarkable speed. Inside, Admiral stood over a holographic display showing orbital sensor readings. Elder N said, turning to greet him, "I wanted to discuss the situation going forward." "You mean what happens now that you have saved my people?" N replied. "I confess, Admiral, we are unsure of human intentions. Your species was unknown to us until yesterday." Gestured to chairs around a small table. As they sat, she activated a recording device. "For the record," she said, "humanity seeks no territory or tribute from the people. We intervened because it was the right thing to do." N's ears perked forward in surprise. "You ask for nothing in return." "Nothing except the chance to prove that not all civilized species abandon their principles when tested," replied. "The galaxy has judged humanity harshly. We hope to change that perception." Through the command post's windows, they could see human and working side by side. Human medics treated wounded civilians, while engineers shared their knowledge of local systems with human technicians. "The cooperative will not accept this," N said quietly. "They will say you violated their sovereignty, that humans are too dangerous to be trusted." "Let them," said firmly. "My government has already prepared a message for the Galactic Council. We're formally requesting membership in the cooperative as equals, not supplicants." N was quiet for a long moment. "And if they refuse?" Smile was sharp as a blade. "Then the galaxy will learn that there are alternatives to the cooperative, civilizations that value justice over politics." A week later, the Galactic Council convened in emergency session. The Great Chamber on Nexus Station had not seen such tension in 2 centuries. Representatives from dozens of species filled the floating platforms, all talking at once about the human incident. Chancellor of the Republic called for order with her ceremonial staff. "The matter before us is simple," she announced. "An unknown species has violated cooperative space and attacked a member of the galactic community." "They were committing genocide," interrupted Ambassador of the Cetacean Alliance. "The humans stopped it." "Without authorization," snapped General, the representative. "Primitive barbarians interfering in civilized affairs." The debate raged for hours. Some species demanded that humanity be punished for their aggression. Others praised their intervention. None could ignore what had happened. Finally, Chancellor called for testimony from themselves. Elder N's image appeared on the chamber's main display, broadcasting from. "Honored representatives," he began, his voice carrying across the chamber. "3 weeks ago, my people faced extinction. We appealed to this body for protection. We received sympathy but no action." The chamber fell silent. "When death came for us, when our children faced slavery or murder, it was not the great civilizations of the cooperative who answered our call. It was a species you call primitive, barbarian, unworthy of your company." N's image turned to look directly at General. "The humans asked for nothing in return. They risked their lives for strangers because it was right. If this is what you call primitive, then perhaps the galaxy needs more primitives." The elder's testimony ended, but his words echoed through the chamber. For the first time in cooperative history, a member species had publicly praised an outsider while condemning the Council's inaction. 3 days of debate followed. In the end, the vote was close but decisive. Humanity would be granted provisional membership in the Galactic Cooperative, with full status to be reviewed in 1 year. It was not the overwhelming welcome Earth had hoped for, but it was enough. Back on 442b, reconstruction continued. Human ships brought supplies and equipment while shared their agricultural knowledge. Elder N had formally requested withdrawal from cooperative protection, placing his world under a bilateral defense treaty with Earth. Standing in the rebuilt gardens of N watched human children play alongside young. The two species were learning each other's languages, sharing games and stories. Captain approached, now wearing the insignia of a major. Her promotion had come with assignment as the first human liaison to the government. "The memorial is ready," she informed him. Together, they walked to the new monument in the city center. Black stone carved with names in both human and script, the soldiers who had died defending and the civilians who had perished before help arrived. At the base of the monument, golden letters spelled out words that would be remembered across the galaxy. "They came from the darkness to bring us light, unknown friends who fought for strangers because it was right." N placed his hand on the warm stone. "Will they remember, do you think? Will the galaxy understand what happened here?" Major looked up at the sky where human and ships patrolled together. "They'll remember," she said, "and the next time someone needs help, they'll know who to call." Above them, the stars shone down on a galaxy that had learned something new. That sometimes, warriors fall from the sky not to conquer, but to protect. And sometimes, the most important battles are fought not for glory or gain, but simply because someone has to stand between the innocent and the darkness. Humanity had arrived on the galactic stage. The universe would never be the same.